Increasing the birth rate is the fixed idea of every dictator. Adolf Hitler in Germany created the cult of the mother of many children. The motivation is simple. A high birth rate is more soldiers at the front, more workers in production, and more settlers in the conquered territories. Putin's policy is no exception. In his speeches, he urged Russian women to give birth to more children. He promised benefits and protection from the state. The Russian Orthodox Church also joined in the propaganda of having many children. The arguments were the following.
If a woman fulfilling this commandment of God, be fruitful and multiply, has refused the artificial means of termination of pregnancy, then obviously she will have not one but more children, and therefore she will not be so painful and afraid to part with him accordingly.
Once again, the priest says, if women in Russia gave birth more, it would be easier for them to send their sons to war. The paternity factor of the church has apparently been ruled out. Men have a different task – go to the front and die there for Putin. And in the Kremlin they started talking about the mobilization of men with 3 children. True, after a couple of hours the testimony was changed. They say they will not send fathers of large families to the front. It's hard to believe in simple confusion.
И мы понимаем, что власть российская в любой момент может изменять.
We understand that the Russian government can change legislation at any time, establish the rights and obligations of citizens as it wants, while it tries not to increase the degree of discontent among public opinion. So, from time to time, various narratives are thrown, stuffing. Now they were checking the reaction regarding the mobilization of large families.
But practice shows that this will definitely not end with a simple check of the reaction of the population. The Kremlin is determined to conduct a second, more massive wave of mobilization. Therefore, even fathers of many children should not relax. After all, even during the first wave of mobilization, when the Ministry of Defense banned taking fathers of many children to the front, was exactly in effect, they were sent to the war, from Transbaikalia, Siberia and Far East. Here Yulia Nazarova from Novosibirsk tells how her husband was mobilized.
We thought that he had many children, we have 3 sons, and he is sick, so he would not be taken anywhere. Naturally, he did not want to go to the front. We hoped for a medical examination. After all, he has chronic osteoarthritis of the shoulder joints, pain syndrome. Because of this, he had to quit his previous job on the railway. At the medical examination, they confirmed that his arm was only half raised, but despite this, he was mobilized. Yulia Nazarova, wife of a conscript, in a comment for Siberia Realities.
Experts suggest that there are hundreds of such stories throughout Russia.
Гребли практически всех, невзирая.
Everyone was taken, regardless of deferments, but it was not in major cities, but mainly in the east of the country, the so-called national provinces.
It's a long-standing Kremlin tradition to drive people from depressed regions to war. After all, people living in poverty are more willing to risk their lives for money. But in the new wave of mobilization, residents of megapolises will also be mobilized. And in order not to repeat the mistakes and not to allow the city residents to escape,
it seems that the experiment with the non-closure of borders, the purpose of which was to smooth the public resonance, it did not have its effect, so it is abandoned. The closing of borders will allow to have a larger number of potential conscripts with a higher level of education and more wealthy.
The Kremlin may announce a new wave of mobilization already on January 15th. The main intelligence directorate of the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense has predicted. This time they intend to put up to 500,000 Russians under arms. Reported by Roman Smoler, Ksenia Barvinenko, UATV News.